Hello everybody and welcome back to Movies Reloaded. Today we are recapping a film called Saw 3. This is a 2006 intense horror. With no more delay, let's get into it. Detective Matthews wakes up in the bathroom and finds himself chained to the pipes. After looking around, he finds a hacksaw and tries to cut his chains, but fails. He sees a foot lying around on the floor and figures that he has to cut his foot, so he uses the toilet lid to break his foot. A few months later, the SWAT team, led by Daniel Rigg, finds a room with a person's remains in it. They figure it out to be one of Jigsaw's murders and call Detective Allison to the crime scene. Allison is still recovering from what's happened with Matthews, and even though his case is marked as a missing persons case, she blames herself for the situation. In a recent case, they found pieces of a body that were the result of an explosion. The body belongs to a man named Troy, who wakes up and finds the chain pierced into his skin. He had 1 minute to rip the chains to find a key or a bomb will explode, but he fails to save himself and dies from the explosion. At the crime scene, Allison asks them how they found the body, to which Daniel says that someone heard the explosion, so they came here and cut open the door because it was sealed. Hearing that, Allison says that it contradicts Jigsaw's game rules because he keeps a way for them to get out. They find the video from the scene, which reveals that it was Jigsaw's victim. Allison comes back home with the tape, and as she is watching it, her monitor starts to play her live footage. She looks around the monitor screen, and a pig-masked face appears behind her, and she passes out. Allison wakes up in a room while hanging by the chains that are also hooked around her body. A video starts playing on a monitor, and a man with the mask says that she likes to observe and understand dead people more than life. So this is her chance to get to her true family, the dead. He then says that the frame she is hooked to is linked with the video, and as it will end, her timer of 2 minutes will start. She has to get a key from an acid bottle in front of her and unlock herself in that time. She takes out the key but fails to open the lock, and as the timer ends, she eventually dies from the trap she was in. In the next scene, Dr. Lynn goes to her job early that day, where she saves a trauma patient with her quick analysis. A nurse says that she looks spaced out, so she should take a rest or get herself checked by the psychiatric department. As she goes into the lockers to change her uniform, the door gets locked from the outside, and a pig-masked man appears behind her. She wakes up tied to a wheelchair filled with different equipment. The pig-masked person takes off the mask, revealing Amanda, his new acquaintance. Amanda threatens her with a knife, asking her to behave, and then takes her inside, where John is hooked up to other machines and a heart monitor. John tells her that he was a patient at her hospital once, but she doesn't remember him. He says that his condition is not as good as she can see, and asks her to tell him how much time he has left. Lynn tells him that she has to examine, first to make a diagnosis, but the cancer he has can be unpredictable. John says that he wants to play a game with her. The rules are simple for the game, but the consequence will be her death. Amanda hooks a collar with 5 shotgun shells around Lynn's neck. And John tells her that it is linked to his heart monitor, so if it stopped or Lynn went away, the collar would activate. They then tell her that there is another subject of John's experiment in a box, and she has to keep him alive until the man completes his tests. If the man goes out and John is still alive, then Lynn will be free. John says that she is a vital part of what could be his final test. Jeff is still suffering through his son's death, who died in his arms after getting hit by a drunk driver. At home, he doesn't let his daughter touch anything that belongs to Dylan, his son. He is sitting in his room after a regular day when a pig-masked man appears behind him and he passes out. Jeff wakes up in a wooden box where he finds a tape recorder. The audio says that he became a shell after his son's death, and that is all because of a drunk driver. He will have the chance to confront the driver, but to reach him he will have to go through a series of tests. And with each one he will suffer and have the chance to forgive. And at the end of all his tests, he will face the driver. Jeff starts his test and breaks the wooden box. After looking around the room, he finds a woman hanging naked in a plant freezer and being sprayed repeatedly with freezing water. He finds a tape recorder there, which reveals that the woman's name is Danica Scott, and she is the only witness to his son's death, but she refused to testify in court for him. He can save her after finding the key, and that is the first test. He hesitates to open the lock and blames Danica for not letting his son find justice. Danica says that she's only human and manages to convince Jeff to open her lock. He finds the key, but before he could open the lock, she freezes to death. He continues to move forward and goes inside a room where he hears a man shouting for help. He looks around and finds a man chained at the bottom of a vat. The audio from the audio tape reveals the man to be the judge who gave the lenient punishment to the drunk driver. The audio says that Jeff can save him, but for that, he'll have to burn his son's toys. As the audio ends, a shredder starts where rotten pigs are being thrown into the vat. Jeff makes his decision and receives a key after burning his son's toys. He opens the chains on the judge and pulls him out of the vat. Next, he finds the drunk driver, Timothy Young, who had killed his son. The driver is trapped in a machine that is slowly twisting his head and limbs. From the audio, he finds that the key is tied to the trigger of a shotgun. As he pulls the key, the gun goes off and kills Judge Holden. Jeff retrieves the key but fails to save Timothy in time, and he gets killed when the machine snaps his neck. Meanwhile, Lynn talks to Amanda and says that John's brain is herniating, so they have to move him to the hospital. Amanda refuses, but suddenly John starts to throw up and starts choking. Lynn acts quickly and saves him in time. She then says to Amanda that John needs to get operated on, to which Amanda agrees but says that Lynn will have to do the operation here. She asks for the things that Lynn will need and arranges them all for Lynn to operate on John. Lynn operates on John in that worn-out room and cuts his brain with a drill. John almost dies during the operation, and in his state, he remembers his wife and says, "I love you." They both hear him saying that, but Amanda thinks he is saying that to Lynn, which makes her jealous. She remembers her previous interactions with John and the murders she helped him with. When John wakes up, he asks Amanda to unlock Lynn's collar, but she refuses to follow the order. John asks her again, but she refuses and reveals that she doesn't believe in his theory anymore. And that she also manipulated the traps set by Troy and Allison. She points a gun at Lynn and shoots her, even though John tries to stop her. Soon, Jeff arrives in the room and reveals Lynn's husband. After seeing Amanda kill his wife, he uses the gun he found at the end of his tests and kills Amanda with it. After Amanda's death, John reveals to Jeff that he was testing Amanda instead of Lynn. He had found earlier that Amanda was going against him, so he didn't want a murderer to continue his experiment after him. He says that he will call an ambulance for Lynn if he has learned from his test. John also gives him one last test, saying that if Jeff can either forgive him or kill him. Jeff decides to kill John and cuts his throat, but fortunately that also triggers Lynn's collar, and she dies with him. Before taking his last breaths, John gives another recorder to Jeff. The audio reveals that Jeff's daughter, Corbett, is also captured and trapped. So John will have to save her, as it will be his very last test. Thank you for watching. What did you think of this movie? Let us know in the comments. We would also love it if you subscribed and left us a like. And don't forget about the bell icon. That way you'll be notified when our next recap is released. We hope to see you in the next one.